Thomas Tuchel's England remain a bit, well, baffling. Brilliant one game, deeply underwhelming the next. It feels familiar to the late Gareth Southgate era. However, Tuchel is quietly fixing England's deep structural issues in the long run. From a complete system overhaul to ruthless player selection and a battle-like mentality, this is how he's transformed Southgate's England.
Gordon in looking for Kane!
To showcase just how Tuchel has managed to fix a few things, we need to look at each part of the pitch through the lens of the simplest and most obvious change. The fact that Tuchel has taken England from a 3-4-3 to a 4-2-3-1. Let's begin with the defence, where structural issues were hurting England further forward. All the consequence of Southgate favouring a back three during his spell as manager, with Kyle Walker coming inside to be one of the centre-backs and two wing-backs compensating for the lack of out-and-out wingers on the pitch. It meant we usually saw Luke Shaw and 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔-𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗏, both excellent crossers of the ball, deployed out wide, and though it did give us that glorious moment of Shaw arriving late at the back stick in the 3rd minute of the Euro 2020 final, on the whole it was more damaging than beneficial, as neither possessed the speed and ability to take on a man 1v1 or regularly contribute to chance creation from open play. Pretty much what you want from your wide players. Under Tuchel, we have a more traditional back four to give greater flexibility and, importantly, more numbers going forward. The winger is now the main player in the duo, expected to provide the quality in the final third, whereas now the fullback's job is simple. Overlap, support, and don't overcomplicate it. No inverting, no underlapping into crowded spaces, just classic overlapping runs. We've seen a couple of times how much Tuchel has done his nutting at 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧 for deviating from that plan, and this might go some way to explaining the ruthless omission of Trent Alexander-Arnold from this World Cup squad. Trent is a world-class ball manipulator who drifts centrally. In Tuchel's rigid, high-width system, his unique qualities would be stifled. Afraid of making the big decisions? Not at all. And he even backs them up, almost to a fault. When Tino Livramento was ruled out of the World Cup through injury, he still didn't pick up the phone and dial Trent. If anything, that stubbornness is a pain point and something we'll come back to a little later on. But in the meantime, we need to discuss Southgate's biggest pain point during his tenure: the middle of the park.
Across to Bellingham! It's 2!
Now, I do need to be careful not to overstate this, because Southgate clearly valued Declan Rice enormously. But with a lack of defensive midfielders to choose from, Southgate did tend to ask Rice to do more of the defensive work, particularly early on in his England career, as part of a midfield duo that wasn't set up to get forward in any way, but rather form a narrow back five that shored things up at the back when the wing-backs went forward. Since Elliot Anderson came in as his partner last year, however, Rice has taken on more of a prominent attacking role. Both players like to get forward, but if someone has to stop their attacking instinct and hold back, it is no longer Rice who defaults to that role. His increased license to roam and make the most of his box-to-box capabilities have unlocked a new level of performance for him in an England shirt, something we see more often at Arsenal. The clearest example of this came during the first goal for England versus Mexico. Rice took the ball from Pickford, knowing that he could drive forward and would have defensive cover. Bellingham drove forward, joined the attack, knowing not only the same, but that it was on him to get in the box and support Kane. The result, a brilliant end-to-end move, resulting in Jude nodding in from a few yards out. I'm not saying Southgate wouldn't have picked Anderson if he was in charge, but making up part of a flat midfield too still wouldn't have brought out the best in Declan, because not only is it a change in personnel alongside Rice, it's also the fact that in front of him is Bellingham in a central attacking midfield position. Under Southgate, Bellingham's arrival on the international scene, coupled with his tactical stubbornness, gave him an issue that his 3-4-3 just didn't allow to fix. How does he fit everybody in? With Jude carving himself out as more of an attack-minded midfielder than in his early days at Borussia Dortmund, coming off the back of a 23-goal, 13-assist season with Real Madrid ahead of Euro 2024, by the way, Kane's game built around dropping deep and the need to have two wide-ish players balance out the attack, England suddenly had 4 players vying to play in 3 positions in the same few square yards of the pitch. This problem led to Bellingham taking up what would be one of those winger slots in Euro 2024 for the sake of shoehorning him in, regardless of whether or not he was the perfect tactical fit, and it led to some incredibly frustrating performances that required clutch moments out of nowhere. which isn't exactly the most solid of game plans. The same thing happened to Foden too, a square peg fitting in perfectly in Man City, but struggling in a round hole for England. Now, by making more space for his attacking midfielder, Bellingham's goal and assist performance against Panama and man of the match display versus Mexico tells you Tuchel is keen on it, it's easier to understand the final piece of this puzzle. Video aside for a second, here's a hypothetical question for you. Imagine you're on your holidays during the World Cup or travelling somewhere for work and you can't get your World Cup fix. You've got your TV licence sorted to watch the coverage in the UK, but not abroad. So what do? Well, our office friends at Tom's Guides have the answer, because they've tested a whole range of VPNs and NordVPN stands out as a strong option. Fast, reliable, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee, enough to cover the entire World Cup tournament, so you can try it risk-free. And the best bit, for all FourFourTwo viewers, there is also an exclusive offer available. All you have to do is click the link in the description to learn more.
Kane could get the shot in. Oh yes! Oh yes!
Under Gareth Southgate, England's wide players weren't really wingers. From Raheem Sterling and Phil Foden to Cole Palmer, Southgate consistently selected profiles who wanted to drift inside. He wanted them working the inside channels, acting more like a pair of dual number 10s, hugging Harry Kane each to one side specifically. At times, it worked beautifully. Sterling's blistering Euro 2020 run is proof of that, but it also clogged up the middle of the pitch and left the likes of Foden restricted, as seen here in his heat maps from the end of that Premier League season to England's Euro 2024 opener. To create the space that Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane actually need, Thomas Tuchel demands the exact opposite. He wants his wide players to stay wide. They need to completely stretch the opposition defence, creating a massive canvas for his solo number 10 to paint on. That explains his distinct tournament selections. By opting for Anthony Gordon, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka and 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, Tuchel has secured direct touchline hugging threats, evidenced in this heat map from Anthony Gordon against Mexico. If you want a tight-knit close control technician to unpick a low block, you pick Foden or Palmer, but Tuchel explicitly didn't. The major catch, however, is that the German manager believes in this high-width approach and everything else to an absolute fault. We've seen the upside already. It completely dismantled Croatia in the opening game of the World Cup and it worked in devastating spurts against Mexico. But when a deep defensive block completely shuts down the flanks, it becomes almost maddening to watch. Rashford and 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 were utterly suffocated against 𝑑r Congo. The breakthrough only arriving when Saka and Gordon came off the bench, abandoned the touchline and started playing within the width of the penalty box. Sure, Tuchel might point to Gordon's performance in particular and say, see, we have enough versatility to change things up. But he does lack that unknown quality, someone unpredictable that hasn't been needed yet, but football can be unpredictable. And sometimes you need to buy into that with a completely unpredictable player. It looks as though under Tuchel, everyone has bought into one crucial deciding factor.
Rashford! 4!
Ultimately, in a tournament such as the World Cup, tactical tweaks mean nothing without an elite winning mentality. Under Gareth Southgate, England were often paralysed by the fear of losing. The ultimate painful evidence of this was in the Euro 2020 final, where Luke Shaw's opener was followed by England spending the next 90 minutes retreating into a passive shell, showing zero attacking ambition and practically inviting Italy to take the trophy. It was a tournament managed by anxiety. Thomas Tuchel is completely rewriting that psychological blueprint, instilling a ruthless, almost arrogance that plays to win at all times, not just survive. We're seeing the rewards of this approach in real time at the tournament. When England were caught in a tactical chokehold against 𝑑r Congo, Tuchel didn't wait around for a moment of individual magic, but made changes, aggressive attacking substitutes, 3 of them, between the 60th and 70th minute, that completely turned the game on its head. Against Mexico, there was a never say die attitude that had England scoring after going down to 10 men, holding on to win despite an intense Mexican onslaught, and if Dan Burn putting his body on the line isn't telling of how much these players have bought into Tuchel's ideas, then I don't know what is. At the moment, England fans believe, and after years of watching Southgate's side reach 2 finals but never really convince anyone that they were going to win either of them, maybe, just maybe, that's Tuchel's biggest achievement so far, injecting a level of confidence and belief into England fans that even if things don't work out at this World Cup, future tournaments could be different under the German.